Hi, everyone. First, huge thank you to the Canva team, Clay team. We love seeing other Canva fans up here. And thanks for outing me on that creativity point. But what a great room. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Jessica Chiew. I lead go-to-market ops and strategy at Canva. We are super proud Clay customers. And yeah, I'm really excited today to talk a little bit about how we ripped up the old playbook and how we built a modern go-to-market org from first principles. So let's start with a quick thought exercise. For how many people does this sales and CS org look familiar? BDR sends 500 emails to book a meeting. No, these days it's more like 1,000. Hands it off to an account executive who starts a discovery process. The AE hits some sort of technical limits, introduces to a solutions consultant, so on and so forth. Sure, maybe your company calls a BDR and SDR. Maybe somewhere in there, there's an account manager. But I bet you everyone in this room has some version of this standard model. Well, here's the truth. The only reason why we're doing things this way is because some company 30 years ago started doing it this way. And it's fundamentally broken. I remember some of our earliest enterprise deals at Canva had 6 or 7 people touch it before we even got to a kickoff call with the customer. And that was for a $20,000 deal. We had a moment where one of our customers literally told us on the kickoff call that they felt like they were starting from scratch. And that's when we really knew that the model was broken. But the handoff Olympics are dead. Because the paradigm is really shifting, thank goodness. And it's shifting fast with AI and technology and partners like Clay as our impetus. Because there are so many ways we can rewrite this model. Here are some ideas. I'm sure some of you are already working on these, and maybe some of them will sound novel to others. But what if BDRs were not human software operators? What if AI handled all prospecting end-to-end? BDRs are actually curating amazing human experiences. As a story, we have at Canva our exec team right now on a surf trip with some of the biggest CMOs in the world. Instead of queuing up emails, BDRs are focused on that type of experience. What if we cancelled all support ratios? What if every AE on every call had access to a solutions consultant or a solutions engineer, all AI-powered, available 24/7? What if AEs could wake up, make their morning coffee, and listen to a 10-minute podcast built just for them, prepping them perfectly for their meetings for that day, giving them tips specifically to their areas of development? They become true experts on their customers' industries, businesses, and personal journeys. And they never have to create another deck from scratch. Pitches, proposals, QBRs, all pre-populated and personalized. And imagine if every other piece just worked. Because the future could look very, very different. With signals and technology at our fingertips, what if we ripped everything up and just simplified this radically? What if the concept of pre or post-sale didn't even exist? Or, who knows? Because over the past 12 months, it's become really clear to everyone in this room that there are no rules anymore. At Canva, we really subscribe to this no rules philosophy. In fact, last year, we launched our enterprise offering with the wrap. We hired a Hamilton-style cast, and half the internet loved it, half the internet thought it was cringe, but it proved the point. We really don't care about playbooks. And so if the playbook is gone, the obvious question becomes, what comes next? So today, I want to talk you through the approach we've been taking to design our go-to-market. I'm going to start with some Canva context, talk about our top 3 principles, share with you some examples of those principles in action, and then talk you through our modern go-to-market, modern GTM ops org, and then pose an invitation for you all. OK, so let's set the stage for Canva and where we were 2 years ago when we started our enterprise journey. Canva is a rocket ship of creativity for those who aren't familiar. We have 240 million monthly active users. If you lined up all those people around the globe, they'd circle it 6 times. We're already in 95% of the Fortune 500. And most importantly, we have a content economy around us booming, with brand, design, and visual storytelling mattering more than ever. But 2 years ago, a lot of this traction was really built from a product-led growth, bottoms-up, self-serve motion. Our sales team was pretty subscale. So we had an opportunity. a generational shift already underway. For any of you with teachers or school-age kids in your lives, just ask them about Canva. It is absolutely their productivity platform. But even though the next wave of knowledge workers were bringing Canva to life, could we accelerate this by also bringing an enterprise motion to life? And much like many of the AI native companies here in this room, we could kind of do this building from zero. But when you're building from zero, you need a compass. And so for us, that compass was really 3 core principles that I want to walk you through. First, put the customer at the center and delight at every step. We have designed our customer journey with intention. I really love what the cursor guys were saying about usage over logos, over ARR. This is how we design the journey we want to take our customers on, knowing that monetization, top-line growth kind of just follows from that. If your teams across your company can't describe how a customer goes from pain to value in one shared language, you don't really have a go-to-market, I'd argue. You're just hiring salespeople. Second, data leads to signal, leads to action, leads to value for your customers. You're all Clay fans, and so I'm preaching to the choir here, but this is our recipe book. It's really tempting to do tools for tools' sake. We resist that urge. And so we start with where we want to add more value to customers, work back to what actions we want to take, and therefore what data and signals we need to harness. And finally, we do sales, but we do it the Canva way. Canva is a super special product with special customers and is a special company, and we didn't want to lose any of that magic in scaling a go-to-market engine. OK, so of course, principles only matter with how they show up in practice. So let me take you under the hood and show you some of the real-life tactics of how these principles show up in practice. First, what does it mean to have a customer journey? Well, I'd like to introduce you to our bow tie framework. This is a super visual, basic visual. There's actually a very detailed design behind this, with detail under every single step. But it's essentially a map that starts at awareness and ends at expansion for our customers. And it's a design for us of how we want our customers to move through our funnel. It helps bring hundreds of people at Canva scale together and how we want to show up for our partners with intention. So some great examples. So you can see buying cycle right there. We know that in this buying cycle phase, case studies and proof points are super important. So we have a customer marketing team, and they know that they play a role in this part of the journey. And they carry a very specific KPI tied to this role. So pipeline influenced by our library of case studies. Another example, onboarding, one of our most critical parts of the funnel. Onboarding in the first 100 days for a customer at Canva are so important, so much so that we've defined that for some very special customers, as part of this bow tie framework, Mel, our founder, has been willing to personally train them on Canva, whether in person or over Zoom. And so it's truly a map for everyone touching the customer to know where they show up, how, and why. It creates one shared language across so many people. But it's also not just an artifact on the wall. It's a live tool. What I'm showing you here is a screenshot of a Zoom meeting we have every 2 weeks, where we have dozens of people across the company all attend the same call, where we obsess over the details of how well we're doing against this journey. Product, growth, marketing, sales, everyone's there, and everyone speaks to the piece of the funnel that they own. The PM owning our online checkout page speaks to the upper funnel stuff. Our implementation team who manage the first 100 days of our top strategic customers, all on the call. There's no marketing versus sales versus product. There's no status updates. We're all one team working together. OK, data and signals. As our go-to-market has scaled, we've talked a lot about how we need to move from bespoke touch to moving into what we call orchestration or conductor mode, something that Clay customers know well. We need to use scaled signals to drive where you take action and focus with limited resources. The guys at Cursor talked about prioritization being key. And so here are some examples of how we deploy these at Canva. A story. We recently had a new data lead join, and for the RevOps enthusiasts, you'll be excited. We finally put together a great new dashboard to show our progression stage to stage on our opportunity. Yay, data. With this new dashboard, we noticed, hey, something's going on with discovery. We saw this huge drop-off. Conversations were dying like flies. And so we went and we watched dozens of gong calls, and we observed that, our sales team sometimes were showing up to these discovery calls completely, what we called naked, not literally, but completely unprepared. And so we knew that, applying this framework, we needed to show up as great strategic partners on every call, including the first call. And we knew that in order to do this, reps must do thorough research on the industry, business, and person before the call. We also knew that that was kind of hard. And so working with Clay and other vendors, we built out a set of signals and actions. So every time a discovery meeting got booked with a prospect, we wanted to make sure full research was done and delivered to the rep at the right time. And so it took data from a number of different sources, but this is a real screenshot, and I'm sorry we blurred out most of it, but this is a real screenshot of a Slack bot that gets delivered to reps before the day before they show up for a discovery call. I wish you could see the detail. It's amazing research, right? Reps will never show up to a disco call asking, tell me about your business priorities. They know it intimately, both for the company and then the person's personal career journey as well. Simple stuff, but so impactful, and you can build this with Clay. Another example. So we've turned our gong calls into a queryable database, and through this queryable database, we found that we saw a new trend that we were winning a lot of deals at a particular critical event when brands were going through major creative overhauls. Canva could slot in and help roll out a new brand and empower employees to easily create on-brand content. And so applying this framework with that insight, we wanted to make sure we were showing up and adding values to companies going through large brand redesigns. We wanted reps to make connections at these critical moments before these critical projects. And so signal and action, we wanted to make sure we knew whenever a company was announcing either a brand relaunch or M&A activity was another really great signal. And so we wanted to do this by scanning the internet and bringing those insights to our field in super personalized outreach. So what does this mean? We did this, we built it. We scanned LinkedIn for announcements like this one here from Zynga, where they were partnering with an agency to do a brand relaunch, and we had a workflow that would find the relevant contacts, which for us is a head of brand, and write bespoke prospecting outreach and kind of trigger the reps to go and initiate those outreach. So there you go. Doing sales the Canva way. What does this mean? It means we play to our strengths, and that for us is highly visual communication, simple, bold, and human. It means no jargon, and we also commit to not using any SaaS speak in any of our pitch materials or emails. It also means thinking out of the box. This is an example of a recent billboard campaign that we did, which is literally spilling out of the box. We don't do kind of stuffy enterprise billboards, which Clay gets. Just look at this beautiful room. It also means that we close the loop like a top-tier consumer company. What does this mean? Well, we've invested a crazy amount of tooling and technology to capture every single piece of feedback that we get, whether that comes through in a support ticket, whether that's something delivered to an exec at a customer advisory board, to something that's mentioned on a sales call. We collect millions of data points. We capture it, we tag, and we structure it all. And every time our product organization fixes a bug or closes a feature gap, we let customers know at scale. It builds love, and it helps close deals. Finally, we show up as salespeople, as real people. Here's an informal motto that we use internally. Operational rigor with a hug. And there's a story that comes with this motto. We had one large customer tell us in a bake-off with a competitor that we won for a number of reasons, but we actually won because when the Canva team showed up in their office, they greeted them with hugs, not handshakes, and that really stood out to them. So we've learned to lean into that part of our personality. But what it really means is disciplined systems delivered with warmth. Okay, those are some tactics behind our core principles. But here's the thing, none of this works without the right backbone. And that backbone for us is our ops org. And so everyone always asks us, how did you design the ops org to support this type of modern go-to-market? So let me show you a few ways that we've approached it. First, we see go-to-market ops as a product team. We have an amazing product culture at Canva, and we treat our internal systems with the same rigor and care that we apply to customer-facing product. So for us as a product team, that means our job is to make complex things simple. This is a company value and is so relevant to the work that we all do. AI and automation is so powerful. We care a lot about simplicity because there's a real chance that you can harness that power and also overbloat workflows. Not long ago, Canva, when we drew up our technology stack, it really looked like a Jackson Pollock painting. So we've got a new mantra at Canva, which is no more tools, less is more tooling. The bar for us to introducing a new tool is very, very high. And so what we're trying to do is do more with our existing stack or invest with true platform partners like Clay. So my team recently shadowed reps, and we were honestly distressed that it took 5 tools and maybe 15 different clicks just to source a single contact. And so we also like to live by the mantra that sales are people, and as people and as end users, they really deserve great UX. Okay. Next, we've invested in a dedicated AI team. Robert Jones, my wonderful colleague, is that person for us. He's unfortunately not here today, but he runs Point. And he thinks like a PM, but builds like an operator. Robert's mandate is to experiment really boldly. He spends all day in clay tables. But we also pair Robert with workflow experts. And they think about the end-to-end workflow for the field. Nothing ships from Robert's world until these workflow experts sign off. In that way, our enablement is super opinionated. If something doesn't simplify the experience for the field, it doesn't go live, no matter how cool it is. And finally, our hiring philosophy. In a modern go-to-market ops org, I really believe that we need to look to hire athletes and not experts. A few years ago, if you'd asked me, I would have said, hey, we definitely look for problem-solving skills, but I love candidates who have done ops 3-4 times before. And while that's super important still, the world is moving way too fast for that. And so today, in addition to experience, what we're really looking for are athletes. And so for us, that means wattage. My boss loves to talk about, how bright does someone's bulb shine. We look for data fluency. And most important, relentless results orientation. The way I describe this to my team is that we all need to be super hungry for impact because there's lots of shiny new tools, but not all of them, land in impact. And in this way, we're making go-to-market ops a competitive advantage, not a back office function. Okay, so coming to the end of my presentation, but I wanted to leave you all with an invitation because this isn't just a Canva story. It's an opportunity for everyone here. Everyone in this room is here because you are at the bleeding edge or you're at an AI native company. And so let's make this super actionable. For everyone to take back tomorrow to your business or your company, let's think about this checklist to see if you're really tackling a modern way to build go-to-market. Do you have a simple shared map of your customer journey? Could a product manager, a marketer, a salesperson, someone in the CS organization, could they all speak to it in the same language? It doesn't have to be crazy complicated, but it does have to exist. Are you chasing new tools? Or do you start with where you need to add more value to your customers before seeking data and signals? Are humans in your company doing things and tasks only humans can do? If not, that's a great opportunity to automate. And finally, do you have a go-to-market ops team ready for the future of go-to-market? Or do you have folks who will keep you stuck lifting and shifting very, very old playbooks and strategies? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a tooling upgrade. It's really a go-to-market transformation. And every single person in this room is at the center of it. So let's get in the driver's seat and go. Thank you.